How are we doing today, Chicago Cubs fans? We are back with another edition of Cubs Daily. My name is Steven Ryan, presented by FanArch. It is the off season. We are trucking along here. I'm slowly but surely getting over the Cubs playoff exit. We have our official World Series. It's going to be the Blue Jays and the Dodgers. We'll not talk about the series, but we'll talk about the players kind of that are in that series and a little bit more. We're going to talk about Justin Steele. We're going to start off with Justin Steele, actually, as he did post himself a video throwing today, like he said, like riding a bike. First day of throwing a baseball with that rehabbed arm. Hopefully, Justin Steele can get back healthy. That is going to be critical to the success of the 2026 Cubs. I think we all understand that. We know he was a really key missing piece. I think Colin Ray stepped in beautifully. I think, Jameson Taillon towards the end of the year stepped up. But again, when Justin Steele returns to the staff, everyone kind of falls in line with their place, right? And especially with the rise of Cade Horton, that's a really good 1-2 combination. And it really makes me think of really good things ahead for this Cubs, especially if we can pick back up Shota Imanaga. And then again, it's going to be a lefty trio, right? A lefty trio, Matt Boyd, Shota Imanaga, and Justin Steele with this staff, paired alongside Cade Horton. And then you got Jameson Taillon in there as well. And that's a solid starting five, ladies and gentlemen. Really, really solid starting five with Colin Ray and Javier Assad as kind of long relief options or backup starters if need be. So exciting to see him throwing again. I think he said that he's not going to be ready right away in the beginning of the year, like April, May, maybe more like late May, early June is his target return, especially now that he's kind of just learning to re-throw the baseball. But either way, exciting progressive steps forward. Justin Steele was dearly missed during this 2026 season, and you don't even remember he was really on the squad because he got hurt like 2 weeks into the season. So it's going to be good to have him back on the team. But let's continue on with the show, right? Because I'm talking about impact players. This is why when you hear me talk about re-signing Kyle Tucker and its importance, this is why, okay? Impact of Springer. I'm not sure if you guys watched Game 7 tonight, but it was the Game of Stars, okay? The Mariners Julio Rodriguez scored 2 runs. Kyle Rowley hit a home run as well. Julio Rodriguez hit a home run. That was their 3 runs. Julio Rodriguez led the game off with a double, okay? That's their $250 million man. And Cal Rowley's going to get a nice extension as well. Or got his nice extension, I don't recall. But either way. Then you have the Blue Jays on the other side of the hill, right? George Springer. George effing Springer. 23 career postseason home runs. 9 go-ahead or tying home runs in October. You're going to tell me he wasn't worth every penny of that contract with that one swing in the 7th inning? Please. Again, I know Kyle Tucker didn't necessarily perform, but that doesn't mean he has not performed in October. We've seen it before. He's dominated a World Series game back in 2022. So again, I maybe you don't want Kyle Tucker. That's fine. I hear you. But we need his bat because that opens the door for the likes of Seiya Suzuki to succeed. I think Pete Armstrong will figure that out eventually. And obviously Michael Busch was a stud this year. I don't know what those guys' numbers are going to look like if Kyle Tucker's off the team. And it's a realistic possibility that those numbers dip a little bit. But again, for your moment to shine in October, sometimes you do have to pay the big bucks. Yes, there are bad contracts out there. I'm not going to debate that with you guys and gals. But the big contracts, the big-time players, those are the ones that give the big-time swings. This series has Shohei Ohtani, $700 million. Vlad Guerrero Jr., $500 million. Mookie Betts, multiple hundreds of millions. Freddie Freeman, multiple hundreds of millions. George Springer, hundreds of millions. It's going to be the series. It's what it's going to be all about. You want to know why? I'm not saying it's the direct correlation. Like you spend money, you get this. But these teams invested in their product. And now they get to sell that World Series merch. So yes, Tom Ricketts, I understand Wagner. He's satisfied with his money. If he really was a businessman, he would not be satisfied with his money. He knows that all the money comes from October. Going to these games, all the World Series merch that everyone's going to purchase when your team wins. That is what it's all about. Getting that built for fall, sweater. That's what it's all about for these owners if it's all about the money. You want a success. Also, they're hyper competitive. That's how they became filthy rich. So again, the impact of George Springer, man, that is the kind of guy you want on your team. You want an October gamer. And that's why, I take a look at a guy like Framber Valdez. I'm not sure what kind of contracts are going to be out there for him, but if there's a 1-year deal for $25 million out there for him, I say give it to him. I think he'd be an excellent addition to the staff, right? He's an October gamer. You have to pay high quality for that stuff. And that's just the price of business. So, again, we know the CBA is looming. We know that kind of stuff's happening. But every single time the World Series matches up, you see the most well-played players in it. And it's not because they're lucky. It's because they're really good at what they do, and they're worth every single dollar of that contract. So let's head on over to grading the Cubs. We're moving on over to the catcher position. I'm talking about Carson Kelly. Now, Carson Kelly was signed to a 2-year deal, and, he was initially thought of to be the backup. Miguel Amaya was going to get the main ropes. Miguel Amaya started off really, really well this year, and I really liked what I saw from him. Unfortunately, I'm not sure if I was to give the catching unit a grade, right? The big three of Miguel Amaya, Carson Kelly, and Reese McGuire, I would give it a B+. I think they absolutely overperformed. They did so well. But again, with Carson Kelly specifically, it was a tale of two halves. The first 2 months, they were calling him Carson Kelly Bonds because his numbers were just out of hand, out of control. But it didn't work out that way in the end. His numbers did start to regress back towards the mean. As you can see here, he only ended up hitting 250, which again, above league average. 333 on base percentage. He got on every third at bat. That's what you like to see. 428. He ended up hitting 17 home runs and batting in 50 runs. But again, that's also more in split time with Miguel Amaya. If you look at some of the other numbers, like his OPS plus or his baseball WAR plus, 119 above average. His WAR this year was 3.6. It was literally just about half of his actual career WAR. So this was a career season for Carson Kelly, and that's kind of the problem I'm having with him is I can't bank on him doing this again next year. I just can't. He's never done it before in his career. Why all of a sudden is he going to become a consistent 3.6 WAR catcher? These are the questions we have to answer, ladies and gentlemen. And again, we have Miguel Amaya. We had a comment in the last video talking about him. I'm excited to get a healthy Miguel Amaya because I think Miguel Amaya was taking some really, really major strides before the injuries. I really liked him at the plate. He was hitting so well. It was him and Nico Horner with the best averages with runners in scoring position. Plain and simple. It was beautiful to watch. So again, hopefully the catching position this season can do well again. But yeah, Carson Kelly, I'll give you a B, man. You did really, really well. Again, a tale of two halves. An A- first portion, a C+ second portion. Again, there's two positions in baseball you don't expect much offensively from. That is your catcher and your shortstop. Now, obviously, there's shortstops that are above that, right? But if you have defensive studs like Carson Kelly and Dansby Swanson, I don't even know if Carson Kelly's necessarily a defensive stud. He's a solid catcher, though. Dansby Swanson specifically, you want them to bring the glove every day. And whatever they give you offensively is just icing on the cake. So, well done to Carson Kelly. We'll continue this series on tomorrow in the next one. So, we talked about the Cubs that are returning. We talked about the Cubs that are leaving as free agents. Now, let's talk about the Cubs who are arbitration eligible for 2026. It is a very short list according to what I saw on AI. Again, this could be very wrong, so please correct me if I'm not right, but we have a lot of years of control like of Michael Busch, Miguel Amaya, PCA, good things you like to see here. These are the 4 players that we have arbitration eligibility on, okay? Justin Steele projected about $6.5 million. I don't know if that's going to remain the case due to the injury, but we still got control of him for another season or two. Javier Saad, again, he was injured last year, so I don't know how much more we're going to really, really want to give him. Eli Morgan, he was hurt all season. I don't imagine that we're going to tender him a contract. We might just cut him, re-sign him to a minor league deal. And then Reese McGuire, who, if that says McGuire, that's my bad. But, a really, really good. Again, like I said, The catching position in total, I'm probably going to give it an A. What they did this year as a position, really, really good. Can't expect much more than what they gave us offensively and defensively managing this pitching staff. So Reese McGuire is arbitration eligible. I can't imagine he's going to get much more than $1 million or so. So not too much skin off the old bones there, right? It's not like PCA is going into arbitration eligibility where, he's making $950K and they're like, yeah, but now you earn $10 million. So there's no major jumps on that front for that. And for those of you that are new to baseball, arbitration eligible just kind of means that a player that's under team control can go to basically a court and, they can make an argument. Basically, they're going to come with two numbers, right? The player's going to come with a number, the team's going to come with a number. And the judge is going to make a fair ruling assessment of what the accurate number should be. And I would say generally it's in between. And again, if you know some experience with this, please let me know in the comments. Please educate the new viewers. That's what we want to do here. But basically, the player who's under a contract is going to court to argue like, hey, I'm worth more. I've been outperforming this. And generally 9 times out of 10, if they do this, they are. But again, it's not too much to digress there. But this is where, if the Cubs can extend PCA, get Michael Busch on a 6-year, $125 million deal, you can really start setting the cornerstones of these franchises right now instead of having to do all this awkward mumbo jumbo with court and BS. And I just hate the way the Cubs handle their business on that front. But I digress. So that's going to do it for today's edition of Cubs Daily. Again, if you guys are all enjoying the content, please hit that thumbs up button. Smash the subscription, and we will be back in the next one. Have a great day.